Keima Katsuragi is renowned on the internet for his ability to seduce any girl in any bistro game. Despite his aversion to women in real life, he inadvertently enters into a con with a demon named Elsia de Ruxima, or Elsie, who seeks his assistance in capturing evil spirits that have escaped hell and are hiding in the hearts of young women. Keima must find a way to make girls fall in love with these spirits. Otherwise, if the contract is broken, both of them will be killed by the magical collars on their necks. His initial target is his classmate Ayumi Takahara, who is preparing for the upcoming track and field competition. Keima cheers her on daily by displaying banners made from Elsie's magical attire on the school's playing field. When Ayumi is irritated by his actions, Keima believes she will grow to like him eventually. Ayumi sprains her leg the day before the meet due to a confrontation with envious upper-class women. However, it was discovered that this injury was fake because she lacked confidence. Ayumi is comforted by Keima, who encourages her to believe in herself. When Keima from falling down the stairs, forcing the spirit out of her body and allowing Elsie to capture it. They share a passionate kiss. Ayumi has lost all of her memories with Keima, and she blushes when Keima congratulates her on her victory. Elsie has transferred to his school claiming to be his sister. Much to his confusion, Elsie informs Keima that there are many more runaway spirits in the city, which dismays Keima. After meeting Mary Katsuragi, Keima's mother, Elsie claims to be her illegitimate daughter, causing Mary to lose her temper during a phone call with her husband over his infidelity. Keima rejects Elsie as his little sister because, in his opinion, she does not meet the criteria. Keima reluctantly accepts Elsie as his sister after hearing her desire to be successful like that of her older sister, Hakwa. During lunch at a popular Sobawa sandwich stand, Keima and Elsie discovered their next target, the wealthy Mio Aoyama, who purchases all of the yakisoba sandwiches. Keima believes she is an easy target because she possesses all the characteristics of a tsundere, and a confession of love could break through her tough exterior. Unfortunately, the confession fails, and Mio instructs her chauffeur to beat Keima. As Keima and Elsie follow Mio to her apartment, they are surprised to discover that she is poor because her apartment is in disrepair. Keima and Elsie learn from the chauffeur that Mio is no longer wealthy as a result of her father's death and her mother's hard work. The chauffeur leaves in disgust after the conceited Mio refuses to stop faking being wealthy. Mio catches Keima snooping and immediately returns to her apartment. Keima can use the fact that he is the only person who knows her secret to grow closer to her. Keima becomes Mio's new chauffeur by cycling her to school each day in elaborate bicycle carriages created from Elsie's attire. Mio is almost tempted to whip him when he grows tired of driving her to school, which briefly causes her to smile, but she quickly reverts to her usual expression and returns home. Keima initiates the next phase of his scheme by inviting her to a grand ball. Mio is upset that Keima brought them to the mansion's gardens before the ball, but Keima convinces her to teach him how to dance. However, after encountering a few noblemen who look down on Mio's current status, Keima convinces her to let go of the past and live her own life, advising her to stop pretending to be wealthy in order to honor her late father. Elsie captures Mio's spirit after Keima kisses her, and Mio's spirit leaves her body after being kissed by Keima. The following day, Keima and Elsie meet Mio, who now has no recollection of Keima and has adopted her family's status and burns incense for her deceased father. Nevertheless, she remains proud. Keima attempts to complete and obtain the bistro game Crayon protagonist, as Sora Asuka. However, the game contains numerous bugs, including one that repeats a previous scene. The fact that saving the game crashes it and that the game server has gone bankrupt means there are no patches available to fix the game. In order to avoid the bug loop and complete the game, Keima forces Elsie to record the decisions he made throughout the game. Elsie is initially perplexed as to why Keima takes the game so seriously, but she comes to respect his commitment to helping the girls in his games just as he does in real life. Keima finally avoids the loop bug and advances to the next scene, much to Elsie's horror. However, he unexpectedly encounters another bug, compelling him to try again. An article about Crayon mentions a rumor that someone obtained the game's conclusion, suggesting that Keima was able to complete it. Elsie is now a fan of the well-known teen idol Kanon Nakagawa. Keima shows no interest in her, explaining the differences between real-life idols and video game heroines. Unbeknownst to both of them, Kanon is returning to school as a classmate of theirs. When Kanon meets Keima on the school's rooftop garden, she is shocked and depressed to discover that he does not recognize her, and she proceeds to repeatedly tase him. Elsie detects a malevolent spirit within Kanon, Keima's next target. Kanon vows to make Keima her fan by holding a private concert for him, but Keima disregards her because he believes it is a trap because boys should be pursuing girls, not the other way around. The following day, Kanon hosts another concert for Keima, which he once again disregards. A distraught Kanon begins to vanish before Keima and Elsie. Keima and Elsie realize that Kanon's invisibility is caused by the spirit within her, and Keima is able to prevent Kanon from tasing him again by praising her song. As Keima sends Elsie to investigate, they discover that Kanon was once a member of the disbanded pop idol group Citron and has never performed songs by her former band. Kanon's need for attention stemmed from the fact that she was previously ignored. Later, Keima receives an email from Kanon and cheers her up during her television shoot. When Keima is feeling down, Kanon continues to send her an obsessive number of emails urging her to visit her. Keima agrees to attend Christmas Eve concert at Narusawa Seaside Hall, where she will perform in front of 10,000 people. Because their relationship is thriving, on the day of the concert, Kanon is once again nowhere to be found, and Keima realizes it is time to implement the last step of his plan to win Kanon's heart. As Kanon prepares for her concert, she begins to have second thoughts and fears that she will make a mistake and be forgotten once more, causing her to become invisible. She leaves the stadium, prompting the backstage crew to search for her. As the concert approaches, Keima finally locates Kanon at a nearby structure. Keima understands why Kanon fears being unnoticed and advises her not to seek attention as proof of her status as an idol, since her efforts to attain that status were proof. Kanon kisses Keima, causing the loose spirit within her to leave and be captured by Elsie. With his encouragement and the support of her fans, Kanon returns to the state and receives letters of congratulations from her former bandmates Yuri and Lime for her accomplishments to date. She takes the stage and gives an incredible performance for the large audience. As Keima and Elsie depart, he informs her that his perspective on idols has not changed, but that Kanon is not an idol but a bright star. This episode presents 4 distinct perspectives on the same day. Elsie is enraged that Keima called her useless for preparing his lunch because it contained bizarre, living ingredients. After receiving advice from her friend Chihiro Kasaka on how to impress Keima, Elsie decides to bake him a strawberry cake. Unfortunately, she misinterprets the recipe instructions and uses demonic ingredients instead of regular ones, causing a number of mishaps, including the release of a mandrake and the explosion of the home economics classroom. Simultaneously, Keima irritates his English teacher Akira Kodama, who dislikes the fact that Keima constantly plays games in class but still achieves perfect test scores. Kodama is being pursued by the mandrake, and after arguing with Keima about this in gym, mandrake reaches the Katsuragi residence, where it deposits Elsie's cake. After returning home, Keima discovers Elsie's cake and consumes it out of guilt. Due to the fact that he was hiding, Mary mistook him for a thief and struck him with a vase. Kodama arrives at the Katsuragi residence to meet Mary, but is frightened away when he witnesses Elsie's lunch devouring the mandrake. Elsie returns home and promises to bake Keima another cake. Despite having consumed the cake, he informs her, to her dismay, that he dislikes sweets. After learning that Elsie's knowledge of human history is 2 centuries out of date, Keima orders her to the school library to study modern human history. She is instead captivated by a book about fire trucks. When she asks one of the librarians, Shiori Shiamiya, for more books about fire trucks, she detects a spirit within her. After bringing Keima to the library, the two are astounded by Shiori's ability to locate 458 books on fire trucks. While Keima believes Shiori used the library index, Shiori, who is deep in thought, wants to tell him she remembered all the books she read in the library but is too shy to do so. The following day, Shiori organizes the books in the library and describes her passion for reading. Keima is aware that shy librarian girls like her are easy to figure out because they are a common type of character in video games. However, unlike in video games where he can read a character's thoughts, it may be more difficult to determine what Shiori is thinking. As Shiori removes some books to be discarded and laments their fate to herself, Keima assists her in retrieving one book she cannot reach. Shiori stutters over her words as she tries to think of a way to thank him. Shiori is embarrassed by what she said and tries to leave. But when Keima boldly and angrily comments on why books are useless today, she calls him stupid before leaving quickly. Keima later reveals to Elsie that he provokes Shiori on purpose so that she will speak up. Due to her shyness, Shiori has been unable to communicate normally with others, so she has been exploring various books to compensate. The library committee has decided to add a meteor room the following day. Shiori attempts to voice her opinion to the committee, but she is too timid to do so. Later, she discovers Keima writing in one of the library's books. He justifies his actions by claiming he was making corrections and remarking that books cannot be instantly edited, which angers Shiori. The following afternoon, she observes Keima scribbling in his own book and realizes he is doing it again. In a state of rage and confusion, She begins to verbalize her thoughts without realizing it until Keima points it out. Keima introduces himself to Shiori the following day and discusses the library. Now that she is speaking normally to him, Keima decides it is time to win Shiori's heart after discovering a notice to dispose of library books for the media room and hearing that Shiori has begun to speak. Shiori barricades and locks herself inside the library to prevent the library committee from removing books for the media room. As the committee attempts to enter, Shiori falls asleep and dreams about the beginning of her love for books until she is awoken by who enters the library through a hole on the rooftop created by Elsie's clothing. Keima has arrived to support Shiori's protest and remains close to her. The library committee unexpectedly turns off the electricity, which causes some books to fall on Shiori. Shiori tells Keima, as she embraces him, that only he comprehends her passion for books and her reasons for protecting them. However, Keima calls her a liar, claiming that she did not barricade herself to protect her books, but rather to protect herself from the outside world. Keima has always wanted to socialize, but her fears of being misunderstood have prevented her from doing so. As a result, she reads to escape the real world. Shiori, troubled by this revelation, is unsure of what to do until Keima drags her from the strewn bookshelves, tells her he will give her courage, and kisses her, releasing the spirit from her body so that Elsie can capture it. As the library committee enters the library, Shiori finally asserts herself and explains her reasons for requesting a meeting, to which they agree. Shiori feels in the epilogue that she has forgotten someone who was with her during her protest, so she writes a story about what she remembers, due to assisting Elsie in capturing spirits. Keima has accumulated an extensive backlog of new games he has not yet played. During the weekend, he intends to finish all the games in his room by playing 6 games at once, with impressive speed while still being able to make logically sound decisions and enjoy each game separately. But he suffers from burnout later. This shocks and perplexes Elsie, so she leaves him alone. Keima, realizing he cannot complete all of his games at this rate, decides to increase the stakes by playing 24 games simultaneously. Keima finally completes all of his backlog games with the exception of one, as he is too exhausted to continue. But he soon begins hallucinating that the game girls he captured are encouraging him to persevere. Rejuvenated, he completes the final game and follows his game girls into the game world, where they all sing and dance. The episode concludes with an announcement of the anime's second season and the introduction of a new character,